Good morning, nation. John here. I want to start off by saying thank you to Paul Jones, brother. Paul Jones is keeping me caught up with coffee. I appreciate that, my man. Quickly, Papa Prepper, Tommy over at Papa Prepper. Shortly after I posted the last video, I found out he had tested positive for the C19. So Tommy, brother, prayers to you. Papa Prepper is one of the creators that I was emailing back and forth with when I, was laid up in the bed sick. So I understand. And, really cool guy. Speedy recovery, hopefully, there, Tommy. And I want to tell you folks real quick, next week, one day next week, I don't know what day, I can't commit to a certain day yet, but it'll be, sometime during the week, next week, we're going to start going live every morning, Monday through Friday, a little bit after 9 o'clock. I know, listen, I've seen all of the comments from the last video. People are like, John, you look terrible. You need to rest. Don't rush into anything. The thing is, I'm probably going to look terrible for months. It is going to be a long recovery process, and I don't want to go months without YouTubing. I've really, really missed it. I need some kind of normal back in my life, okay? So it does me good, believe it or not, to be in front of the camera and, just be talking prepping and politics and things like this and to interact with you folks. So again, live starting next week in the morning. I'm sure all of you can't make it, but the replay will be there. And anything that we're talking about, I'll be sure and read the, the live comment back off in case you're catching the replay. So this morning, what I want to talk about is something that is not being talked about a whole lot. I've seen it a little bit in the mainstream media. I will actually link one of the articles down below. Folks, I don't have a disease. Somebody pointed that out last time. It's the lighting, okay? I'm perfectly normal other than just feeling fatigued and stuff like that. So what is getting ready to happen on September the 6th is the unemployment benefits that has been extended twice now. I believe it's twice by Congress. They are set to expire again on September the 6th. This is going to affect 7.5 million Americans. And it does not look like they're going to extend it a third time. Because what is happening is they've kicked around the idea in Congress, and now even the moderate Democrats in Congress are pushing back and saying, no, we don't have the money for this. We can't extend it forever. So 7.5 million people are getting ready again on September the 6th to have no income whatsoever. Now, this sounds like a perfect opportunity to get back into the workforce, right? Because let me see here, I've got it written down there, 9.2 million vacant jobs right now. The problem is we have 5.5 million unemployed right now. These are people, 5.5 million Americans that during the pandemic became unemployed, and they just haven't even applied for a job. The jobs are there, they're just not filling them. And again, we're getting ready to add 7.5 million people to that. Now, some of these people will go back to work. They'll go back to a different job, but for the most part, they're not going to do it. This is what the past year tells us, right? Republican states, there are a lot of Republican states and Republican governors that have already on their own said no more. It's time to go back to work, and they've ended these programs. They've caught a lot of heat for it. And what has happened is only a small percentage of the people that were out of work went back to the workforce. The rest are still collecting benefits. They're just doing it in a different way now. Folks, what is going on is, I'm going to try and simplify it as much as I can, okay? So our country, the United States of America, We're caught dead in the middle right now between capitalism and socialism, okay? So the Biden administration and the ultra extreme liberals in Congress, they are making a push towards socialism. They want it. They want it so bad. They want globalism. They want socialism. I think that's no surprise, right? They want a nanny state. They want people to own nothing and be happy, as many of you will say. They want you totally dependent on the government. This is just their mindset. They think this is the way to be, right? The government is so good at everything, like the when you go to get your driver's license, that's run so well. Every government program that we have is run, to be honest, very poorly. Why wouldn't you want them running everything else? So they're pushing for socialism. That is why we have seen so much assistance. They're trying to get people used to the idea of the government will take care of you. But we're stuck in the middle because we have people in Congress, and look, I'm going to call it for what it is. We have a lot of Ted Cruz's, if you will, and Lindsey Graham's in Congress, and they get a lot of money from corporate America. I've often said they might as well wear NASCAR jackets. Both sides of the aisle, but Republicans are really bad for this in Congress. They'll take money from, again, corporate America, and then they'll vote accordingly. And so what's happening here is they are pushing back against the socialism. They want capitalism because CEOs and multi-million-dollar companies, they stand to lose a lot of money by making that turn to socialism. So our country is kind of stuck in the middle right now. And there are a bunch of different reasons. People that are not rejoining the workforce, they're giving different reasons. They've done interviews and they've done polls or whatever, and focus groups. Invest whatever you want to into that. But they tried to figure out why these people aren't rejoining the workforce, because it's a problem for both socialism and capitalism. Capitalism is more obvious. Socialism, you kind of have to have money for all of these social programs. And the people that aren't working aren't paying taxes, and therefore they have less money to go around. So they're blaming childcare, okay, which is, I would say, a legitimate concern for some people. Some people are saying they just don't want to wear a mask all day. They don't want to, they've been out of work since the pandemic first started. They don't want to go apply for a job, oh my gosh, where they have to wear a mask for 8 hours a day. They're just not interested. There's the possibility of contracting the C-19 or one of the variants. Okay, so, and I actually do know people that are this way. The pandemic started, they started working from home, and then when it was time not to work from home anymore, they just quit. They didn't go back. I don't actually know how they're paying their bills, to be honest with you, but they're just not interested in going back to a public scenario where they could potentially catch the C-19. They're just trying to completely avoid it 1,000%. And then something that I've actually added to this list, not a lot of people have mentioned this, but I think it's worth mentioning, is some people that are out of the workforce, they just aren't going to comply. So let me give you a perfect example, okay? Someone was a nurse and it was forced on them. It was mandated. Most hospitals now have mandated it. And this can apply to different jobs as well, teaching, whatever, the airlines. But, especially with the medical field and teaching, if somebody's not interested in taking the knee and complying, they're out of a job. Well, the problem here is most of the people that wanted to be nurses and things of this nature were already nurses. So there's not a huge pool of people to pull from to replace the ones that held the line and just said, no, I'm not going to comply. So I think there are a lot of people out there that have not applied for jobs because they know as soon as they walk through the door, they're going to be pressured into trying, taking the whiskey shot minus the whiskey, and they're just not interested in it. So they're just sitting at home. So where does this leave us? The Biden administration, they're encouraging states to have a safety net available. And this, again, according to the article, I'll link it down below. But what does that actually mean? Well, it means the Biden administration wants the 50 states to pay for socialism programs in its state, but they're not actually giving them the funding to do so anymore. So Biden is making demands, and he's not able to give out any more money. Congress is just not going to bite on it. As a prepper, what does this mean for you and I? That's the big question, right? Because this stuff is not going away anytime soon. Again, 5.5 million unemployed, 7.5 million getting ready to join them. A large majority are not going to apply for a different job. So what does that mean for the prepping community? Well, we are dealing with massive shortages across the board right now. We've talked about this some on Patreon, but I'm seeing them locally. A lot of people are seeing them locally, and it's being blamed on, they'll blame everything. They'll blame the boogeyman. They'll blame, hey man, we don't have any aluminum. I've heard truck drivers. I've heard people to unload trucks. This is going to continue to get worse. The shortages, especially around Christmas time, they're going to be catastrophic. They're going to be the beginning of the pandemic in size. So that is something that we need to prepare for, folks. With people not rejoining the workforce, we're going to have less and less people to unload trucks. We're going to have less factory workers. We're going to see longer wait times at, our local hospital. We're going to see, I think, increased classroom sizes and things like this at public schools. It's just not a good thing. Shortages across the board at your local grocery store. We're going to, I believe, start to see ammo shortages again very soon. Lumber is actually coming down in this area a little bit, but everything else is going up. All of the other building supplies and tools and things. So prep accordingly. We know shortages are coming. Many are already here, but they're probably going to double or triple by the end of the year because of this thing, the unemployment that not many outlets are talking about. So I just wanted to speak on it this morning. Folks, thank y'all for being here. Again, next week we will be going live. It will be more open-ended. We'll talk about a couple of different topics, and we'll have that chat in real time. So until then, folks, again, pray for Tommy over, Papa Prepper, and anybody else that may have the C-19 as well. And God bless y'all for being here.